upon the notion of a generative model. Your perception is basically what is inside your head, and sensations are just in the game of providing evidence for or against those beliefs. The brain's job is then just to try and come up with a good explanation for those sensory patterns, those sensory shadows. The idea here is that we're given this sensory shadow, say that my retina was supplied with this data, and I have to come up now with an explanation for what caused these sensory inputs. We have to select the best hypothesis on the basis of the evidence for that hypothesis inherent in the data. So Q is a belief, it's a probability distribution over discrete or continuous states. I'm going to use discrete states in this talk at a particular time. And all I'm going to do is maximize this free energy functional. It's negative free energy in physics. Crucially, I'm going to rewrite that in terms of the difference between accuracy and complexity. And the reason I'm making a big fuss about this is that it's useful to concentrate on this term I think everybody would be comfortable with. If you like predictive coding or predictive processing cast as predictive coding, this is essentially just the sum of square prediction error. So this is the prediction error that we're trying to minimize. This, I think, is probably the more interesting term. It's the complexity. It's how much we have to move our beliefs away from the prior in order to offer an accurate explanation for the data. And it effectively scores the degrees of freedom, the dimensions on a manifold, the number of elements in a hidden state required to compress all that good information down so that I can now generate a fantasy or a prediction that is as accurate as is possible. You're forcing the data through a bottleneck with low complexity, simple, low degrees of freedom representation, minimum complexity, just to keep Jürgen Schmidhuber happy, and then expanding it again to actually reproduce the thing that you're trying to predict. So what caused this? Was this a canine, a dog, or a wolf, or was it a little pussycat or a bird? Anybody? Andy, what do you want? Cat. You've seen this before. That's sorry. He's going to go with the dog. Thank you. Well-behaved member of the audience there. Right. So we have a number of hypotheses in mind. We're going to select this one as providing the most accurate explanation for these sensory impressions. We're focusing in this instance on optimizing, and we can choose many different schemes to do that, a free energy functional of the data and our beliefs about those data. So it's all about how our brains are entertained, engaged with the sensory sampling of the world. And of course it was a cat, you're absolutely right, but he'd seen the slide before. So the point being, of course, you will never know what's actually out there. Your job is just to come up with the most plausible hypothesis. So this was the illusion of a dog. It wasn't actually a dog, but it's still the Bayes optimal explanation, even though it was completely wrong.